Righty ho. So, welcome everyone to what is episode 9. And I'm going to title this the home isolation episode because I'm a household contact. So, I've been locked in the home office, which has been absolutely great. I see Zach is in the Parnell office enjoying the atmosphere there. Rhonda's not going to be able to join us because she's got a prior appointment. So I'm going to run through Defender for individuals. If you haven't seen that already, some SMB hubs that I found in the States, great for end user training, Surface promos. And then Steve was going to join us, but he's got a family emergency, so he can't. So I'll be taking you through Microsoft's security and SMB space, and there's a whole lot of stuff there on workforce pieces, and then prizes, and open up to Q&A. So if you haven't already seen this, is Microsoft Defender for individuals. Why is this important to us? We're partners. We talked about the superpower that Microsoft has around signal intelligence. Currently sitting at 25 trillion. I believe in Steve's slides, he talks 24 trillion, but what's a trillion between friends unless you're fighting over a lotto win? This is just going to massively increase the amount of signal that's coming in. It's really basic, but have a go at it. I've got a bit of a walkthrough on these things that I've captured from my work device. And we'll cover off some more stuff around that. So mine's called Microsoft Corporate. You can share a security screen, so you could have your security admin at home if you like, which would probably be yourself, so you can see the status of all the devices you've got. So just enrolling this one, if I go to the dashboard, you can see that this Surface that I'm using at the moment is protected with Defender for individual. But you'll note there, let me just bring up my laser pointer. Because it's a Dicker data machine, we use something, I don't know what this is, to manage our AV part of it. If you are doing another device, so here I load my HP, which is 100% Microsoft. Then we get all this stuff coming into it. But what I'm saying there is that you can have another AV if you wanted to. I don't know why. And run it in conjunction with the Defender for individual. What we're really doing is just linking all that data back into the Microsoft cloud. Reason that it's important, and it gives us a ton more signal to work with. But if you think about it, a lot of the DDoS attacks and everything are launched from people's personal computers or IoT devices, forming parts of botnets. So the more we can protect an individual, the more we actually protect the complete internet. Okay, something else I found. Unfortunately, this is not available on the New Zealand Microsoft site, but it is on the US one, and you can click on that picture of the lady there. I'll take you through to it. They've got a webinar coming up tomorrow. It's a business connect and learn. What this is really about is if you are looking at doing end user training, which is a great opportunity for partners. We throw all these new products at them and talking pre-call about how fast things change. Our users feel that pain too. So if you can offer a service where you sit down and do a presentation on using Teams or calling plans or to-do or Power Apps, this is all on that hub. This is all end user focused stuff. This is how to use these applications, even the LinkedIn thing, how to rock your LinkedIn profile. So I'm going to be having a look at that and see if I can improve my profile. Coming up later today, 12:30, part of the digital crime units at Microsoft holding a webinar. I forgot to do slides on this, so I just grabbed my calendar appointment, but you can click on that and go through to the page and reach stuff for it. So this is what Microsoft is doing globally as far as enforcement. So that's takedowns, prosecutions, most wanted lists. So you want to get on that. And Microsoft, Surface promos. As last week, Rhonda apologizes. She's going to do the product launch for the new devices next week. But we still have that one where you can save $500 and get 3 years next business day support on the Laptop Studio, which is hell of a device and one that everyone wants. If you're after a Surface Pro, get 20% off and also go in the draw to buy a scooter. But normal safety conditions, read the instructions before you ride that, helmet and knee pads. Okay, so I am not Steve Lathwaite, who is the partner technology strategist at Microsoft Corporate New Zealand. Previously looked after the enterprise space, so he has some great insight into what enterprise is doing. So I'm going to wing my way through his slides, cover off threat landscape, why Microsoft is different, and you know that I'm preaching from the prayer book that I believe that Microsoft is the bee's knees. What Microsoft is doing, particularly in the SMB area, and then the common question is, where do we start? Because security is such an all-encompassing, holistic piece that making a decision where you're going to start is often the hardest thing, and then some more resources. So as always, we'll put this deck into that OneDrive and you can click on the links. So you've probably all seen this spooky slide talking about the increase in ransomware, which is usually the beginning and end of the knowledge that most of our customers have. They all hear about ransomware and are scared of it. My approach would be not to try and scare them with this or say that they are targeted. The facts are that nearly 1 in 4 SMBs have had a breach in the last year. So you might have been targeted, but you got caught up in it. What is interesting to us as partners is that 90% of SMBs are considering changing if a new partner comes in and says, hey, look, we can do things a lot more secure for you. We can rationalize your security and make it cross attack vectors, if you like. The business premium story that we're going to sell, and I'm sure that Steve is going to do that. The 108K average cost of an SMB data breach, take that with a grain of salt. How do you actually quantify that? Using some of the risk frameworks that are out there, you can probably get close to 108K in New Zealand, but that includes reputational damage, chances of actually recovering the business and getting it back up and running. This is what really resonates with me, is that we have seen a massive growth in demand for security professionals. So, good on you guys going out there and getting certifications. Don't just limit yourself to the Microsoft ones. The ISC stuff is there. It really puts you in a great position as far as jobs go, because you can see it's a global problem, looking at 3.5 million security jobs open by 2025. And a lot of these numbers are pre-COVID on the surveys. So we're seeing 22% increase in demand in New Zealand, 26% in Australia. What that's really doing is lighting up your LinkedIn profile. And I can speak from experience, the offers that are coming through on a regular basis. So cherish the people that you've got in cybersecurity in your partners now. And if you are looking at a pathway towards certification and specialization, security is the way to go. It's not for everyone. It takes a special character that has to be paranoid and a little bit thick-skinned at times, and with a warped sense of humor, eh, Zach? All right.
You're not wrong.
So the COVID, as I said, those numbers are pre-COVID. What we've seen is an absolute explosion both in threats and also demand for cybersecurity from partners, going out and offering it, looking at how we migrate into a more secure posture. Because if you think about it, pre-COVID, we were all VPNs. You had to be in the office. That was relatively easily protected. Now that we have people connecting over the internet from ISP provided routers, using devices that their kids play with, it just makes it really difficult to control that. So hence why we move towards that zero trust framework, which Microsoft embraces around, protect identity. So if you're looking at a place to start, I would highly suggest identity is the first bite of the cherry to start looking at. That remote access to apps, so cloud app security, all the parts that we're going to roll into there. So 85% of partners see this as a huge area of growth. So 85%. This was in 2020. So anybody want to have a guess of what it is now? I'm imagining it's pretty close to 100%. But remember, 85% of partners are seeing that. So if you're not one of those partners, you need to move on. So the questions that are being asked is, how do we move beyond basic AV? And from my experience on calls is that there is still a lack of understanding about what an AV is and what a Defender is, or Microsoft's Defender. AVs were good in their day when we had to deal with files being downloaded and malicious files, but that is so yesterday. It is legacy. You need to move towards advanced threat protection, as it was previously known, or the Defender type products. And there are some other vendors that have really good products that we compete against out there. So it doesn't have to be Microsoft. But if you're looking at how, from a business perspective, you're going to scale, then it really makes sense to look at consolidation of your vendors. If you can do the same job with a current vendor and eliminate one vendor, that's going to decrease your costs of doing business, because it is really a soft cost. If you've got 5 vendors demanding meetings and training and certifications, it just really adds to your cost of retaining those staff, training those staff, doing business with that vendor, and then you've got multiple incentive programs, you've got multiple panes of glass to manage all these products in. Why not just make it simple? Keep it simple is a good idea for security. So why should you trust Microsoft? And I think I've covered this off before, but some third-party independent stuff where we've got Gartner, MITRE. And MITRE is an interesting one when we talk about competitors. So there is a competitor. I'm not going to call out their name, obviously. That is really strong on the MITRE framework as well. But we beat them in the real world detection tests. And I place more weight in those real world detection tests than I do on the legacy AV ranking engines, where they rank everybody the same. And it's only against known threats, not against someone sitting at a keyboard gaining identity. So the security technology is across multiple platforms. That's what we mean when we talk about holistic. It's not just treating security as a password and a username, which is the identity piece. How do we control that access using signal intelligence? What device is it coming from? What location? What browser? What is the person actually doing? And doing that across the whole organization. So whether that is your servers, your mobile devices, the remote workers sitting at home on the home networks. The cloud security, how do we secure multiple clouds? Because in an ideal world, everyone would be using Azure, but in the real world, people use multiple things. It's just compute and storage. That's all a cloud is. How do we secure those things if it's across multiple? So Microsoft has now the ability to do it across multiple different clouds. So if you're using a cloud provider starting with AWS, which has issues around securing data up there, we can run the cloud security piece across it and make sure that we have that locked down, so we don't have the breaches that way. We have to provide governance on our data, so a lot of it coming from regulation, Privacy Act, GDPR, all that sort of thing. How do we find personally identifiable information in there? How do we do our best to stop data leaking out of our organization? All part of the security technology that we're doing. Risk management. So vulnerabilities, what are the vulnerabilities in all our infrastructure? Once again, it's in there, and you've got it in Business Premier. And how do we actually measure ourselves against those compliance standards? Let's have a workbook that we can work through step by step. Some of it's manual, because a lot of it is devising the business strategy. So, part of what you should be taking to your partners is not just the technology, but having a strategy. What is the plan? What do we do? What are the areas that we need to concentrate on? Let's define on what is sensitive and critical information to your organization. These are not technology solutions. Who are the people that push the emergency panic button? If they're not available, who are they? We're used to doing this for business continuity and DR. We need to build security into those plans. So what is the secret sauce or the superpower? And Steve's saying 24 trillion. Last I saw it was 25 trillion, but it is a mega untold, using a Waiuku terminology that we coined, mega untold amount of signal coming in. Obviously, you can't have people sitting behind desks in a SOC center analyzing all that, but we apply the power of the cloud and the AI compute resource up there to look for any abnormal behaviors. Then they're highlighted to a human, which feeds back, false positive or positive or unknown, and investigates further. And then the AI actually updates and learns from that. So it gets better and better all the time. So we build accuracy as well as detection, I suppose is the way that you'd put it. So there you can see that we blocked 9 billion endpoint threats, 31 billion identity threats, 32 billion email threats blocked. So those numbers just astronomically soar. That's why Microsoft is investing so much in the security business. It's the biggest growth area for Microsoft. I think it is now the largest business within Microsoft is security. And you would have seen Satya making some great offers around staff retention, because he's realized the value of that security business and retaining the right people. And when I say the right people, realize that security people come from a multitude of different backgrounds. It's no longer the white middle class guy sitting behind there. It's all about diversity, having people from a psychology background, from a law enforcement background. Basically, if you can think logically and skeptically, then you are highly suited for moving into the cybersecurity area. And as we said, why we're investing where security is going. So customer partners, hybrid workloads, AI, in the past 5 years, continual innovation around the anti-malware, going back to 2004, right up to decentralized identities. So what do you call it? Verified identity and passwordless. IoT is a huge growth area at the moment. So, we've got partners down the South Island, of all places, that are seeing a huge opportunity around IoT security and building out their practice around that, which is a great revenue platform. Cloud security, if you're in the M365 world, shut the door, the dogs have decided to go crazy. If you're in the M365 world, concentrate on your tenants. Look at what you can do there. Keep referring back to your Zero Trust platform. Okay, and there's some numbers. 5 billion is the investment in the past 5 years, 20 billion in the next 5 years, and more to come. So that is a ton of money. I love 20 billion. That's more than a gross national product, I think. Okay, and all this protection is no good unless it actually works for you. And we talked about the cybersecurity gap. How do we make enterprise security available to people that are not cybersecurity experts yet? And which is going to be the majority of our small businesses, and also probably the majority of our partners. You're flat out doing the day-to-day stuff. You'll realize that you've now got to start thinking strategically about how you're going to position security and take that to market with your customers. But for the meantime, I don't have a cybersecurity expert on my staff. I need something that's easy to use, that is going to highlight the important stuff to me, automate as much as possible, but also generate areas where I can make a business out of it, rather than my traditional break fix. So all comes down to Zero Trust, which is the basis of everything that we do at Microsoft. So that's verify identity. Don't just trust because someone's entered the right credentials. So challenge using multi-factor, conditional access comes into there. Secure your devices, attack surface reduction, conditional access on device risk assigned to device. And this is all done through policy. And policy, as Rob Crane says, as soon as you see policy in any Microsoft thing, start thinking dollars. You've got to write a policy, so you charge the customer for implementing that. Ask yourself, if your customer left you, what would you turn off? If the answer is nothing, then what is the value that you're actually adding? These are opportunities for you to build revenue, not giving it away for free and turning everything on in Business Premium. We don't expect you to do that. There's an opportunity there for you to charge on a subscription basis for a DLP policy, and make sure that your apps, infrastructure and network are covered off. So that's all about this, which is, don't worry about taking it all in and memorizing this slide. This is what's known as the CRA, Microsoft Cybersecurity Reference Architecture. Reason for, I think, Steve putting this in here is just show you the breadth of our security offering and how it all fits together. So this is the elephant, and you're going to take it bite by bite. Maybe start at endpoint and devices, and then work across your infrastructure and those pieces. But you can see, we always talked about defense in depth, which still applies. Multiple controls to stop unauthorized access, and this is all the stuff that you could do and build out around your security practice with the Microsoft thing. Right. Second, my favorite thing, Business Premium. So, you can go out and buy E5, and my challenge to you guys is always lead with E5 and fall back to Business Premium. Business Premium gives you everything that you need for a SMB business or under 300 seats. Sure, it's not cheap compared to selling standard, but if you look at the total cost of ownership of providing IT to those customers that want cheap stuff, the cost to your business, you need to ask yourself, is that a liability that you want on board? What you really want from a customer is a customer that cares about their security and will pay for value, and value is represented in the Business Premium package. So all the productivity apps that they're used to and have used, and giving you all that remote access, so they can work from home, protecting the identity. We've got conditional access in there with the Azure Premium P1, the Defender for Business is now rolled into there, Defender for Office. So if you're looking at securing their emails, and I'm doing a deck for another partner, which I'll drop into the OneDrive, just around Defender for Dummies, I'm calling it, how to onboard that, and also some of the reports and testing that you can do on it. And then Intune, which is great for doing those ASRs that we sort of like talked about, or attack surface reduction, or hardening your devices on the endpoints. So Defender for Business, it gives you enterprise grade protection, and if you haven't already, if you're doing it as a standalone add-on to the business standard license, Bigger Data are going to give you the first month back. Terms and conditions apply. But it's easy to use. It's basically a wizard out of the box. Click on it. It asks you who you want to make your security admin or security readers, what devices you want to deploy it to, and then click, go, done. There is some limitations around it, and the biggest one that we've found is around that attack surface reduction. You can do some basic stuff around firewalls and having those threat monitored, but for most SMBs, it's going to be fine. And one thing that came up on the Australian call is that if your customer says that they've got a SOC, and your SOC provider provides the current AV, can you go to Business Premium? Defender for Business. Yes, you can. APIs are open, so the APIs can be integrated into any existing SOCs or security operations centers. Sorry to use abbreviations. Cost effective, because basically it's wrapped into there with Business Premium. If you're buying it as standalone, I think we're looking at about 450 New Zealand. Okay, that might be more expensive than some of the cheaper AVs, but remember, we're not talking about an AV, we're talking about advanced threat protection, EDR if you like, but extendable to become part of your XDR solution that you're selling as a solution into your customer. Okay, we've talked about the change in attacks. So multi-layered or defense in depth again, first most vulnerable places to gain credentials, whether from breach or from phishing attacks. How we can cover that off is using conditional access. Looking at the devices, moving on to the next one, device security, locking down those devices so we make sure that we enforce basic security on there. Part of security, the breadth of it is we're talking about the physical security. What happens if that laptop is lost? Are we enforcing BitLocker on there via Intune? Application security, what applications are our partners, our customers downloading and installing on there that have a gaining, or there's a bit of configuration creep in it, now siphoning off stuff. So we're looking at that as well on the cloud app security part of it, and you've got the basic discovery and sanction, unsanctioned in your Business Premium offering. Document or data security, controlling, if someone does breach a tenant, can they access important sensitive data? How do we control the flow of that, and making sure that those controls move with either the document or the PDF, just document, or even communication, I think is probably a better word of saying that, so we can control that across multiple outlets, whether they're Microsoft applications or not. Why Microsoft, or the single throat to choke, is the old analogy that is common used, makes sense, because you're standardizing. And we all know that as soon as you start doing bespoke or custom solutions for customers, your cost goes up. Sure, the customer believes it's a bespoke and custom for them, but it's built around a standardized cookie cutter, if you like. You have the ability within Business Premium to cross-sell, to move up the stack, start selling other offerings. So your Defender for Office, your conditional access, your Defender for Business, firewall, web monitoring, vulnerability management. I'm not quite sure what he means by selling the pre-contract assessment. So I'm guessing this is going in and saying, hey, look, this is what we can do better for you. So people value stuff they pay for. So sure, every managed dog offers a free security assessment, but what's the value of that? I'd much rather have a thorough, give me a security audit and tell me what I need to focus on. And you can do all that stuff with the Secure Score, accessing that. And it gives you a great pointer and a great place to start. Vendor management, dealing with us vendors is a pain. That's why you have Dicker Data. We hopefully take away a lot of the pain and bear it on Zach's wide shoulders. Okay, I'll build that slide out. No, that's basically what I said, I think. So that's okay for winging it. Increased profitability. So 85% of partners are seeing security as the way forward, and the reason for this is that that one example there is seeing a 250% increase in it. So Defender for Business, sell that as part of a package with a consultancy. Support services, this is what we provide as recurring revenue, and an introduction into your managed security service, which can be a bolt-on or built into one of your higher tier offerings. Scalability, again, if we've got multiple customers on this, how do we multi-tenant it? And we've always talked about Microsoft 365 Lighthouse, and we're working on being able to do a live demo for that at some stage. But remember that it's free. These are some screenshots of what it looks like, and it works with the Defender for Business, so not just business premium licenses now. So if you've got a business standard and you've got Defender for Business in there, Lighthouse them, or Microsoft 365 Lighthouse them, not Azure Lighthouse. So I am going to flick through Steve's ones here. Some great resources here. The playbooks, Microsoft have a wealth of resources to help you build a practice. And Dicker Data is also doing this with the Neural Impact sessions coming up. So thanks for the great response we've had for that. We will be communicating in the near future, those people that will be on it, with the appointments and the invites to the team meetings. So we're going to flick through those ones, resources. You guys can click on all these in there. Okay, and the challenge ones I put up for the free vouchers for exams, so you guys can get trained at Microsoft's expense. Unfortunately, those challenges have ended, so wait for Inspire. There will be a whole lot more challenges in there where you can earn some fundamental exams. The Who Hack challenge is still live, so you can jump on that one and join that. Coming up, we've got Azure Virtual Desktop from the Dicker Cloudies, and this here is the YouTube link. So as you saw on last week, I put it up there, marketing within 30 minutes, had me take it down. But it is now back on the Dicker Data channel, who knew? So click on there and you can watch reruns. If you're still waiting for the DVD Blu-ray to come out, any episodes that you've missed, you can jump back and look at those. And as you said, you can hold me to stuff that I said on previous ones if I didn't edit it out. Our friends at Aaron at Kensington has made available 2 more of these VeriSign FIDO keys. So you may be familiar with YubiKeys, which is a dirty word because we don't distribute YubiKeys, but we do distribute Kensington Verimark keys. So if you want one of these, open up your chat window and I shall ask a question, which the first 2 to get it right, we'll get them out to you. So I've got my chat window open, I can see. So I talked about what percentage of partners see security as the biggest growth area. That was back in 2020 from Channel's Futures Full Report. What was the percentage of partners that see security as the biggest growth area? Congratulations.
Steve, hot off the press, yeah.
Oh, Steve and Mike. Mate, you guys taken everything, even the percentages. I did use my laser pointer on it just to highlight it, so those of you are aware of how I usually do it. So thanks, guys. If you can just flick an email through to onpoint@dicadata.co.nz with delivery address, I shall get those off Aaron when he gets out of isolation, because he had COVID last week, I think. I'm not going to say that's why the wife's got it, because people might draw the wrong conclusion. But yeah, just to clarify that, as my wife works with Aaron at Kensington, they had a big sales meeting which turned into a super spreader event. Okay, I shall now stop recording.